Now at noon, the former Alaska Airlines pilot who tried to turn off a flight's engines mid-air is sentenced today.
It's a whole bigger deal when it's a live one because we all care so deeply.
A rare rescue effort on the coast. Volunteers scrambling to save a live 6,000-pound whale calf stranded on the Oregon beach. And caught on camera, a puppy parcel thief causes some trouble for neighbors in Oklahoma. Thank you for joining us. I'm China Green. Today, a former Alaska Airlines pilot learned his fate in federal court this morning after he tried to cut a plane's engines mid-flight. The plane made an emergency landing here in Portland, but Joseph Emerson was sentenced to 3 years supervised release. Back in 2023, Emerson says that he pulled the handles to wake himself up from what he thought was a bad dream. Fortunately, he was restrained by the crew, and the plane meant to go to San Francisco diverted to Portland, landing safely. At the time, Emerson was an off-duty pilot riding cockpit. He told police that he hadn't slept in over 40 hours after taking psychedelic mushrooms and was, quote, not okay. The man convicted of stabbing and killing an off-duty mail carrier last year in Clackamas will be sentenced today. A jury found 53-year-old Chad Westover guilty of second-degree murder. In September of last year, he used a kitchen knife in the deadly stabbing of Tristan Thomas during a fight at an apartment complex on Southeast Sunnyside Road. Westover's sentencing started at 9 a.m. And police are investigating a shooting that killed one person and left 2 others hurt. It happened around 6:30 Sunday morning in a home near Southeast 125th and Division. Inside, they found 3 people with gunshot wounds and another person with minor injuries. One of the shooting victims died from their injuries at the hospital. No one has been arrested, and anyone with information is asked to reach out to police. The FAA is ending its flight reduction emergency order today. That means flights across the U.S. will resume normal operations. Airports were forced to cut up to 6% of their flights to ease a strain during the government shutdown. On Friday, that reduction was rolled back to 3%, and today it goes away altogether. According to FlightAware, only 1 flight has been canceled for today at PDX. The Trump administration has filed an emergency motion against the judge's ruling that blocked National Guard deployment to Portland. The U.S. Justice Department filed the motion with the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals looking to reverse federal Judge Karen Emerget's ruling back on November 7th. Her ruling found that President Trump exceeded his authority when he federalized Oregon National Guard members for deployment into Portland's ICE facility. Willamette University law professor Laura Appelman has more on what this emergency motion by the Trump administration means. We'll have more details for you on that coming up a little bit later. To our next story now. One restaurant in Aloha says business has dramatically dropped in the wake of increased immigration enforcement. Tapatio Mexican restaurant has been in business in Aloha since 2002. The owner says it's a popular spot for a local Hispanic community, adding that they had steady business until about 2 months ago.
A lot of guys from business like construction or landscapers, they come and have lunch with us here, and they watch the European leagues like European soccer, but lately they disappear. They are just afraid to come out.
The owner says other restaurants, particularly Mexican restaurants, are also seeing less business. However, he says he has not seen any immigration agents near his business. Close to 700 New Seasons workers across the Portland area are looking for the possibility of a strike the week before Christmas. If a deal is not reached, the strike could start on December 17th. Sunrise reporter Thomas Schultz has the latest.
New Seasons workers say there's still 5 proposals left to negotiate, predominantly around better wages, health care, and paid time off. New Seasons union workers tell us that they've been pushing for $20 an hour for starting wages. They've also asked for raises every 6 months, saying workers are not willing to take sub-inflation wages. New Seasons has countered, offering $18 as a starting wage. The company also wants to raise the threshold for who's eligible for health care. The two sides have been bargaining for almost 2 years now, since January of 2023. In a statement, New Seasons says, in part, our focus is on finding a fair resolution that supports our staff while ensuring we can continue serving our customers and communities. We believe the final offer on the table enables a fair and sustainable future. The union says that they must reach a deal by December 4th to avoid a strike. They say if a deal isn't reached by then, they'll go on strike December 17th. Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
All right, now let's take a look outside on this Monday afternoon. A lot of clouds out there. So Rod's here with your latest on your weather. Will those clouds produce anything?
That's the worst view, by the way. The worst view.
Okay.
Because most other cameras show some sun out there. That's why I say it's the worst view. And to answer your question about the rain, I mean, we're not, well, let's look here. We had straggling showers still at 11 o'clock. Here's the last 3 hours of imagery. We're pretty much completely dry right now. The visible satellite picture, if you look carefully, a lot of clouds, kind of mostly cloudy overall, but some increasing breaks. Now the coast is different. We have sunshine, Astoria, Tillamook, all the way down to Newport. In fact, here is Snookwinds Casino Resort. When I say sunshine, we have sunshine. Beautiful day at the beach. 52 degrees. Chance of any rain there, obviously gone. Now, well, I lied. I said that one camera that China showed you is the cloudiest. This view right now is pretty cloudy. It did show some sun breaks. That's the barn view and the vineyard from the Chehalem Tasting Room camera in Sherwood. But if you go out to the Dundee Hills in Yamhill County, that's the camera at Domain Serene Winery. That's actually partly cloudy. And there's the Rose City camera looking at partly cloudy skies, or at least some blue over the city. We are at 53. We're warming up nicely. A bump today's high to 55 degrees. That's not bad. We'll be all dry this evening and 47. And really all dry, I think, from this point moving forward for a nice Monday afternoon overall. China.
Thank you, Rod. Now to national news. With a major reversal overnight, President Donald Trump is now calling on House Republicans to vote to release the files on notorious sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. This comes as the House is set to vote this week on a petition to compel the Justice Department to release any documents it has in the case. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Washington, D.C.
As the House prepares for a vote this week aimed at forcing the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files, President Trump changing course overnight, posting Republicans should vote to release the files because we have nothing to hide. The president has long opposed the push that he's called a hoax by Democrats.
They're using Jeffrey Epstein as a deflection from the tremendous success that we're having as a party.
While also condemning Republicans who back the bill, including Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, a longtime ally. She says she's faced threats after his recent criticism.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her.
The president, who was once friends with Epstein, denies any wrongdoing and has never been charged in connection with Epstein's sex trafficking crimes, now saying he does not care about the files' release and wants Republicans to get back on point, as the Republican and Democrat leading the charge in the House reject claims of partisanship and predict the vote will pass in a landslide.
I think we could have a deluge of Republicans.
What we're asking for is justice for those survivors. So it's not about Donald Trump.
Survivors of Epstein's abuse preparing to rally at the Capitol this week, urging lawmakers to remember their stories.
I would say, please remember that these are crimes that were committed against real humans.
Pushing to move past politics to accountability. President Trump has now directed the Justice Department to investigate Epstein's relationship with several prominent Democrats mentioned in a trove of emails a House committee released last week that also referenced the president, including one from Epstein saying that he, quote, knew about the girls. The White House denies it, stressing the convicted sex offender was a known liar. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Here's a look at some national headlines this afternoon. A New York Jets player is in critical condition after being shot outside a Manhattan restaurant early Sunday. 29-year-old Chris Boyd was shot in the abdomen and taken to the hospital. Sources tell NBC that the bullet is lodged in his lung. Police haven't released details about what led to the dispute, and no arrests have been made. The U.S. carried out another strike on what officials say was a drug trafficking boat in international waters. The Secretary of War and U.S. Southern Command confirmed the November 15 attack yesterday. 3 people were killed in the strike. This is the 21st military strike on alleged drug boats during President Trump's second term. As many as 8 people were injured when a house exploded last night in Chino Hills, California. Aerial video here of the scene shows extensive damage to the home. 4 people were taken to the hospital from the scene, and another 4 are believed to have been taken to the hospital before first responders have arrived. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department saying that the explosion was possibly due to a gas leak.
And liftoff of Falcon 9. Go SpaceX, go Sentinel 6B.
And a SpaceX rocket has carried its ocean mapping satellite into orbit overnight after lifting off from California. The satellite will help measure sea levels around the world and is part of the European Union's Copernicus Earth Observing Program. And that's a look at your national headlines.